Good morning, Wrestling Inc. Get up, get going. It's me, your managing editor of WrestlingInc.com, Nick Hausman, joined here as I am every Wednesday to celebrate the hump day, to talk all the pro wrestling news the past 24 hours, and in this case, do the final live Wrestling Inc. Daily before we take off for Dallas and WrestleMania. It is B-Wo, Brian Wohl. B-Wo, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Good morning. I'm excited for WrestleMania week. How are you doing? You got to be a little stressed with the travel coming up? It's cold in Chicago right now.
I'm trying not to be stressed. It is cold and rainy here in Chicago. My flight has been delayed by 20 minutes. I got that first text alert here today. So we'll see how that gets bumped back, but that's fine. That's why I booked early. Want to make sure I got into town safely. Want to be in on Wednesday night so I can wake up Thursday and in earnest get going with the Mania coverage. And we have so much that we're going to be covering. We'll be on the ground for the collective all weekend. We're going to be at WrestleMania, obviously, NXT, SmackDown, Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor Supercard, ad-free shows, Super Show. The list goes on and on. I'm going to a wedding, the media junket. There's a pro wrestling wedding where some people are going to get their vows recommitted to one another, surrounded by superstars. And Nick Hausman, that's the way to do it when you're in Dallas, you know?
That is tremendous. That is so tremendous. Oh, my goodness.
What a weekend. And Dallas, beautiful Dallas, not at all a terrifying city. A beautiful, warm, welcoming town. I look forward to seeing you, Dallas. I want to thank Tim Rosen here for jumping into the comment section on Facebook at this early edition of the show. Hi, baby girls. Hey, that's us. We're your baby girls here today. Baby girl Brian Wohl and Nick Hausman. Yeah, we're going to have some fun. Bruce Bart here. What's up? Glad to finally catch a live show with Brian and his positive outlook on wrestling. How do you feel about that, Brian? You've been labeled positive.
I try to be. I'm here because I love wrestling. I feel like that's why we're supposed to be here. We love wrestling. And if we're not here to talk about the stuff we love, then what are we doing?
Great call. Great call. And Tim Rosen says he's just being silly about the baby girls, but that's fine. We know. We're having a good time. It's a silly kind of Wednesday. It's good energy in the air. We got a bunch of news to get into. No interview here today, but later on, you're going to hear us reveal the number 3 most voted for WrestleMania match amongst those that were able to vote on the WrestleMania match panel list within Wrestling Inc. We're getting that one sorted. But we're going to have a look back at whatever this number 3 match is. We'll reveal that later on. And then we're going to dive into the mailbag later on, and we're going to talk about Scott Steiner. And I asked everybody the ridiculous question of who would you like to see Scott Steiner feud with of the current WWE superstars. And the reason I asked this question really has nothing to do with the Hall of Fame, which he is going into. It has everything to do with the fact he was on Judge Steve Harvey, which we have discussed Judge Steve Harvey here in the past, I believe, on the show. Have we not, Brian?
Last week, like a clock,
every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we got a Judge Harvey block.
With Kevin Sullivan and J.J. Dillon.
Yeah. So this one involves Scott Steiner. We'll get into it. But without further ado, it's time for news you can use. News that'll leave a bruise. We'll start here with a report from Fightful. They're saying that AEW officials reportedly have significant interest in signing Toni Storm. Interest is so strong that several talents outright expect Storm to join the company sooner than later. Numerous AEW wrestlers have been pushing for sign to be Storm. Athena Moon, or Ember Moon, a.k.a. Athena, is also rumored to be AEW bound. It was noted that there have been at least light talks engaging interest between Athena and AEW. Those close to the situation note that there was a, quote, feeling out process between Athena and AEW going back to not long after she was released from her WWE contract on November 4th. She became a free agent in early February when her 90-day non-compete clause expired. So 2 women that are luckily on AEW's radar here, Toni Storm and Athena. I'm a big fan of both. What do you think about the interest here from AEW in these women?
I think it's very smart to be interested in both of those women. Toni Storm is, I think, 26 right now? She's very young.
Right.
So, what a great investment. She's very healthy. Now, Ember Moon, Athena, you just got to see her wrestle at Warrior Wrestling. How's she looking? She's had a few injuries in the past, but she seems...
I was not at the Warrior show with Ember and Thunder Rosa. But no, what I've seen, she looks great. Sounded like she was awesome to work with. I'm just happy that, again, there's these women that are out there right now that can really add a lot of life to the AEW women's division, right? Bruce Barrett here echoing that statement over in our comment section, saying they could really start to bring up the women's division. We said that about Ruby Riott as well. It is interesting to me how many women in AEW right now are just kind of floating. Britt's over, Thunder Rosa's over, Jade Cargill. I mean, you can't feed her enough, right? Feed me more. She just takes them down one at a time. I would love to see some more viable contenders in the AEW women's division, more focused. And if you're not going to put them in the main event where they're focusing on the title, you can still bring these women in and create programs that have nothing to do with the championship that these women would be great at filling TV time for. So I'm very pro both as well. I think it's great news to hear that there's some interest here.
Oh yeah, and I think Ruby Riott, she's kind of gotten lost in the mix because Thunder Rosa has seized that brass ring. She really took control of her moment, and it feels like also in the build to Revolution, they were only making room for only so many women's storylines, and that's something to kind of notice. Is that what's sticking out to Tony Khan? What does he want to throw his weight behind? Who's going to grab his attention? And Toni Storm, she grabs attention. Ember Moon, she grabs attention. So I'm optimistic.
I think with Jade Cargill, it's interesting because it's really a one-woman division, right? Goldberg style, stack them and rack them, right? They give her one woman at a time. She beats them. There's no real hype. There's no real build. There's no real program. It is just, again, feed the monster, feed the beast, right? And it has left, I think it's left a little bit of a bruise for the women's division in AEW just because all the women kind of feel like non-threats when you blow through them. I feel like as quickly as they maybe have been doing with Jade. I'm not going to say Jade is wrestling too much or too often. I just think that if you're going to have her always beating people, maybe put in 3-4 weeks between those matches where there's like an actual build, there's reasons that this match has stakes, so you're not going through 38 women in 38 weeks. You can give a couple women a chance to tell stories with Jade Cargill before she beats them, which is something you do with a lot with the men. I mean, I get what Tony's trying to go for with the Jade is the new Goldberg thing. He seems to kind of bang that drum pretty hard, but when you're just kind of rolling through your women constantly like that, after a while, they all start to look kind of like threats. And then you've got what is over what used to be the Britt Baker show, which is a very tight women's title picture for the regular AEW Women's Championship.
Yeah. But Goldberg, he even had some feuds that lasted a little bit. He had a couple of weeks. And I think you're right. Jade does need that. And I think that's something where Toni Storm could step in. Gosh, seeing those two on a poster, you'd be like, wow, that's a match I'd be interested in. The thing is how do you want to position Toni Storm? Jade is still positioned as a heel, and Ruby Soho, she's a face. She could challenge Jade, but it's not. Nobody is really a believable threat.
Is Jade a heel?
I feel like she's still a heel, right?
It's like, I mean, I guess she is. Like you said that, I was like, I guess, but like when she comes out, everyone's like, oh yeah, Jade, right? Like she's more of a cocky baby face to me. She's got Mark Sterling there, but he doesn't do as much kind of shady. I don't know. He does some shady managerial stuff, I guess. But like people like Jade Cargill. I don't know that I would call her a heel. She seems to be beloved, in my opinion.
Well, all right. So then maybe Toni could debut as a heel and be threatening Jade Cargill. Toni does give up a decent amount of size to Jade, so Toni could snipe her and maybe show that Jade is in peril because Toni is willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like, even if it's just, again, and like, I understand the title picture is something you can book around, but even if it's like her coming in and Ruby's like, hey, I remember you, and like, they have like, there's a little division here between like the women that are originals from AEW and these new women coming in. Like, it's not the most original thought in the whole world, but it's something you can play with and stretch, and there's some real tension there, and you can kind of create matches that mean something from that, right? It's just a starting place that I'm throwing out there, but something that doesn't have involve the title. How can you bring in a Toni Storm or an Ember Moon to create compelling storytelling with women that are not in that title picture, so that when your title picture cycles out, you have another story where somebody just got a big win or something like that can cycle into the main event picture, right? That's how you're supposed. The wheels go like this, right, round and round. Anyway.
Yes, yeah. We need somebody that can expose some sort of vulnerability in Jade.
Yeah, I agree with that. To tell a story here, or become an antagonist to her, right? Like get under her skin, do some stuff. Like Jade doesn't want the match with her for whatever reason, so the woman has to do things to get the match. I don't just spitballing. You're throwing things against the wall, right? But like things that take time that you can invest in and that aren't just like, hey, here's the next opponent. You're Goldberg. You're gonna get a win with your shady manager and take off to the back. So
yeah.
Well, I think we're all for these women. Just it's right opportunities. Well, over in WWE world, PW Insider saying WWE is bringing Shane McMahon into Texas for WrestleMania 38 weekend. No word on if Shane is going to actually appear on the pay-per-view, but word is that he is going to be in town for the entire weekend. That's so weird. I thought that this guy had been fired and ostracized and hated the family and everything. Sounds like he's back in the mix, BWO.
Yeah, and with reports of Triple H being back on the job, it seems like everybody's simpatico again.
I hate to say falling into line, but finding their place, I think, in the new lay of the land here. I mean, it has been really dramatic the last 2 years how Nick Khan has just come in and just sucked up so much of the oxygen in that executive space over at WWE.
Yeah, but Young Rock is back on TV, which is run by his sister Minajka. So it seems like the Khan empire in WWE is holding strong.
Yeah, and Hunter's there, and I read his comments from ESPN about how he's focused on recruiting and developing and finding those athletes and things like that. So I wish him the best. I don't know where you put a Shane McMahon on WrestleMania 38 unless it's the McAfee Austin Theory match. I feel like Shane McMahon maybe helping McAfee beat Austin Theory or something like that could be a fun moment, to get one over on the old man and his protege. I don't know. That's the only literal thing I can think of. I do not want him doing another match last minute with somebody else and adding to the card. I do not want that.
Do you think that they'll trot him out as like kind of a red herring for the Seth Rollins Cody Rhodes match?
It is interesting, right? I think Shane is an interesting name to bring into town to red herring everybody on the Cody stuff. I see some people saying Gable Steveson. This could be like his debut, which is, I mean, I'll give it a grain of salt. I think it could be, I guess, but it's going to be pretty hard to throw people off the scent to Cody. If you don't get Cody, then I think people are going to be very, very upset.
Yeah. Gable Steveson will get a cheer, but I don't think it would be anything like what you'd get with Cody.
Yeah. Well, so if not for the Cody spot, is there anything else that you could think of or want Shane McMahon to have to do with WrestleMania, BWO?
Gosh, I feel weird about Shane right now. I don't understand who Shane is on television. Like I just don't get the Shane character. And so that's where it's really hard to think about where I'd want to place him because I don't understand the Shane character on TV. The Shane character that we last saw on Royal Rumble just made no sense, seemed to muck up the match, and I don't know what his motivations are. So I would like Shane, if they're going to use him in something that makes sense.
Okay.
And the Pat McAfee Austin Theory match makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, totally. And Dino Garofalo here saying, maybe Shane could be the special referee for the McAfee Theory match. I could see that could be add a twist to it. Sure, why not?
Yeah, I want things to make sense. I want people to be happy. There's just been too much booking in WWE that has felt like a troll job, and I don't want them to use Shane to troll people.
Yeah, well, and Mike Martin here saying maybe they'll bring Taker in for the match, Brian. Maybe that's who's going to be the one taking on Seth Rollins, The Undertaker, fresh off of his Hall of Fame induction.
Did you see he just gave an interview where he said nice things about the young wrestlers?
I did, yes.
I was thrilled.
It was nice comments that did not have any kind of backhand in it. It was just a series of 2-3 sentences that just put over the athleticism of today's talent. I saw the comments. Yes.
God, how easy was that?
It was pretty easy.
Oh my God.
Then he talked about how much he loves Kane. And look, hey, it is only Wednesday, right? Friday we've got SmackDown, so you could do something with McAfee Theory there as well. I mean, it's WrestleMania SmackDown, so
Doesn't that really bothers me, man? I gotta tell you, there's 8 matches on each night of WrestleMania, and then we still get the Battle Royal on SmackDown instead, and there's not enough room for the United States Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. How do you do that?
Well, they got time on the WrestleMania SmackDown for the Intercontinental Championship. Ricochet is going to be taking on Los Lotharios, triple threat match, after losing to Austin Theory on Monday Night Raw. I cannot believe they did Ricochet like that, or the IC title, or Los Lotharios for that matter. So Ricochet's going to be in that match, but he also took to Twitter yesterday to warn fans about invading his privacy. He noted that he's going to deny fans who are waiting in hotels or airports early in the morning who ask for multiple autographs, as he sees that as invasion of privacy. He did encourage fans to speak with him when they see him out and about, but asked them not to wait and hound and check in areas at the airports. And this is a story that comes up every 3 months or so, like clockwork. Somebody showed up at an airport, and there was a dude with a stack of 108 by 10s. It was like, sign these and I'll leave you alone. It's not how it's supposed to work, Bebo. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, I feel like the average fan is fairly respectful of people's space, but gosh, yeah, I mean, I don't feel like Ricochet's asking anything crazy here.
No, I agree with that. Ricochet not asking for anything too crazy, and people should just, give the wrestlers their space. By the way, our chat room just got spammed by something. What is going on here? I've got to take care of this nonsense. It's like all these jibber jabber lines, and I don't know what is this spam? We're getting spammed like we're under attack right now.
Wow.
And I see Rocky Baya here, our good friend. He's commenting on how I'm shaving here, and he's also noting the spam. All right. Well, I seem to have blocked all the spammers. What a nightmare.
We must have upset them with our chat about The Undertaker.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bebo, I want to thank you for joining me at Top Show Talk all the news today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you are an obnoxious spammer, just stop. Stop. I can't focus on the show if I'm getting spammed like this. I'm just gonna throw my hands up in the air. This is ridiculous. All right. Let's get to our retro segment. Our retro segment here is the number 3 match on our top WrestleMania matches, top 7 WrestleMania matches, as voted on by some of the members of the Wrestling Inc. team, though not all. Many did not know that this was going on, so we're going to work on it in the future, but we did make a list, and we're going to see it through because Matthew Carlin's, by God, made some beautiful graphics that are on social media, and it is just a fun thing to do to look back at classic WrestleMania matches. So number 3 today comes from WrestleMania 17. It is The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, a classic. I've watched WrestleMania 17 back in full within the last year. The whole show itself, I don't know it holds up to the grandeur that it is talked about today, but this match certainly has a huge, big-time feel. What a main event this was between Rock and Steve Austin here at WrestleMania 17.
Oh man, the crowd still had all their energy for this main event. WrestleMania is so long, and for the crowd to be fired up for this match, and I just love it. The only thing, man, I really hate that finish.
Yeah, right. That's kind of the hold up here, right? When you talk about this bout. Yeah. So great match, weird finish.
You've been watching some old WrestleManias this week. I've been going through things, and I have to tell you, it's been killing me with this Intercontinental Championship not being featured because 2 of my top 10 WrestleMania matches of all time are Intercontinental Championship matches.
Well, obviously Savage Steamboat. What's the other one?
The ladder match, WrestleMania 10.
Man, of course.
Like, sure. Man, and there's so many other IC Championship matches, and I don't know. It's wild to see this left off the card.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty wild. Well, let's talk about something else wild here to wrap up the last live show before WrestleMania begins in earnest. So today's poll question stemmed from a story about Scott Steiner. So pro wrestling legend, soon to be Hall of Famer, Scott Steiner made a cameo appearance during Tuesday's Judge Steve Harvey show on ABC. He appeared as a witness on video to defend independent wrestling promoter Ronnie Gossett, who was on trial for $5,000 in unpaid appearance fees. Gossett was sued by Johnny Fairplay, former contestant on Survivor and an indie wrestler best known for his time in TNA. And according to Fair Play, Gossett refused to pay him for 2 canceled indie shows from last year. I'm Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, and I've worked for Ron many times, Scott Steiner said. I've got Ronnie's back on this one. I've worked on 3 of his shows. The first one got canceled. The second one got rained out. This happens in other sports such as football, baseball, and golf. I mean, you can't control the weather. And for the third show, I was paid in full. Steiner then added, Johnny needs to stop being a little bitch. If you don't like it, wrestle me for the money. So Judge Steve Harvey then commented on Steiner's testimony, noting, I actually know Big Papa Pump. I strongly suggest you, Johnny Fairplay, don't wrestle him for the money. He then ruled in favor of the plaintiff, asking Gossett to award Fairplay the $5,000 in unpaid fees. What a odyssey that was. How do you feel about the latest Judge Steve Harvey case here?
I love it. It's the best thing ever. More, please. This is so fun. And is there any opportunity for you to track down a Steiner and interview a Steiner over the next couple days?
Maybe Rick. I mean,
wow.
I don't know if Scott. I mean, I'd love to get Scott if he'd give me the time, but I know that he is a tougher ticket to get. So.
I mean, I'm sure Rick has a lot to say too. I mean, this is such an exciting weekend for the Steiner family, and I feel like this is going to be a real high point for them.
I think Braun Breaker might be at the junket. I think he might be at the media junket. So if he's there, that would be a Steiner that I could talk to. Yeah,
that'll be so cool. I feel like this is going to be a high point for the family and like their entire history this weekend. I feel like Braun's going to take the title from Dolph. I feel like, you don't think so?
Nah, I think Dolph keeps it.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I think help from the Dirty Dog, Robert Roode, Braun Breaker goes off to show up on Monday Night Raw, day after WrestleMania, and Dolph Ziggler works with whoever's next in line that needs to work with the veteran and try to take him off the top of the mountain.
Man, I hope you're right. That would be really fun to see Braun Breaker debut on Raw on Monday.
Oh, I think it's you know what? There was a real short timeline for his NXT career anyway. I think they put him on TV. Vince got a hold of this guy. They're putting all of the burned ashes of the bridge they had with Scott Steiner to the side just to get that Steiner momentum and mojo going in earnest right now. So,
Scott Steiner was banned for a while, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he made some threats to Hulk Hogan, and he may have said some stuff to Vince too. I forget the exact comments and timeline and everything. But anyway, with Scott Steiner being in my news, I thought to myself, what's a fun Scott Steiner question? Well, if Scott Steiner was to hypothetically have another run in WWE and feud with somebody, who'd you like to see Big Papa Pump feud with in WWE? Is it Chad Gable, Braun Breaker, Roman Reigns, or somebody else? Well, with about 200 votes here, 51.6 to Braun Breaker, 25.5 to Roman Reigns, and 18.5 to Chad Gable, with 4.5 going to everybody else. Is there any one particular dream match for you on the main roster with Big Papa Pump?
Gosh, I can't help but picture Roman Reigns and Scott Steiner going at it. Especially, I rewatched the WrestleMania 31 match between Reigns and Lesnar, and I feel like that would be a great format for the Steiner Roman Reigns match, where Steiner just pummels Reigns, and Reigns just takes it and then comes back looking strong. I feel like that'd be such a fun match.
I agree. I think the Roman Reigns Scott Steiner dynamic would be good. Then after I made the poll, I was like, well, I think Sami Zayn would probably have a lot of fun with the Scott Steiner too, just because like Sami Zayn can be fun with anybody. And watching Scott Steiner like bully and harass and chase around a Sami Zayn would be pretty fun. I kind of love that idea.
That is a great idea.
Right?
Man, right? Sammy, it's so great seeing him so happy and just thriving right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I'm so happy for Sammy right now. He's having the time of his life. And all of his interviews, he's just like, yeah, I feel valued. I feel taken care of. Like, he's happy. So good for him. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up there for today. Great show. WrestleMania is upon us, and I'm going to dive into those waters here within the next hour and a half or so. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow and Friday with pre-tapes, where we are going to be looking at WrestleMania Saturday on Thursday, and Sunday on Friday. That'll be with Paul Pratt tomorrow, and TK Trinidad will be on Friday. We'll have the full audio for both, along with some audio from interviews I may be doing on the ground included in the next two shows. So if you don't subscribe to the Wrestling Inc. Daily on iTunes or a podcast platform, make sure to do that now so you don't miss out on any of that content. We're going to try to get up all the videos I do from the junket, from the wedding, tailgate party, etc., all that stuff up on our YouTube channel in the coming days. The team is ready. We are ready here at Wrestling Inc. to bring you this coverage. So stick around here for the next 4 days of that. Monday, I'll be back here live with the Michael Weissman. Of course, if you like the show, like I said, podcast page, that's the place to subscribe and support. SupportWrestlingInc.com. And come back tonight after Dynamite. We got the team here with the Wrestling Inc. podcast. They're going to be talking about Dynamite tonight. Support that. Support this. Brian Barry here's got a super chat I'll read because he paid for it. Thank you, Brian. We appreciate you. Wonder if they give Scott a live microphone at the Hall of Fame. They probably will. And that's why you should watch. It's going to be great.
Oh yeah, I was already pretty interested just to see what the Undertaker would say and what Vince would say about Taker. But now with the added attraction of the Steiners, oh my gosh, Hall of Fame is must watch this year.
Must watch, man. It hasn't been in a couple of years. This is gonna be a good one. B-Wo, what do you think you want to put over here before we wrap up the show today?
Oh man, wrestling this week. So many indie shows, so many great wrestlers being showcased this week. Get out there, have fun, be safe. I'm doing a bunch of shows too this week. If you're in LA, I'll be in Long Beach on Thursday. I'll be in Hollywood on Sunday, and then at the Berkshire House on Tuesday. I'm all over the place. Enjoy wrestling this week, you guys.
Yeah, enjoy some wrestling, everybody. You're all wonderful. I cannot wait to engage with you all over on social media throughout the next 4 days. I'm at Nick_Hausman. I'll be away from my fiance and dog, and I would love for you to distract me with tweets or your thoughts or questions or whatever it may be as the weekend goes along. So please feel free to give me a follow. I will talk to you all in live again on Monday. Enjoy all the coverage of WrestleMania 38, everybody. And remember, if you winked, you did not miss it.